Good interview there. John Bonet, Mile High Report, always does a great job. Very passionate about the Denver Broncos, and it's always good to have John on. I enjoy it because when you have a reporter on, or a writer, or an analyst, the professional sense is there, but there's not a lot of passion, at least shown at the time, because it's not what they're paid to do. They're paid to give you accurate information and give you their best opinion based on the access that they have to the team or their history in the sport. Whereas with John, John's able to show his passion for the team and also kind of let me and everybody else in on kind of what's going on around there with a pretty large sample size of people that go to milehighreport.com. Rumor has it that there's another guy on the line right now that's can be very, very similar. Tned, Broncos Forums. What's going on, brother?
Not much. Just figured listening to the show, love it. Figured I'd call in once, get some of my opinion out there.
Yeah. So what's going on, man? I'm assuming that Bronco Tebow Nation has taken over your forums as well. Is that right?
Yeah, good or bad, that remains to be seen. But yes, Tebowmania is alive and well on the forums.
Yeah. So what's going on, Tned? What do you got for us, bud?
A couple things. One, I hate to do it because the much of the local media in Denver has driven me crazy. But I got to say, in their defense, I think you touched on a couple points why they're so anti-Tebow. But I think one other point is that for the last year plus, they've had fanatic after fanatic calling in saying, Tebow's going to be better than Elway, comparing his rookie starts to Elway's first rookie starts to Marino. It's just they're fanatical. And so I think somewhat in their defense, and I hate to defend them at all, is they've had this onslaught of Tebow as the next coming. And I think some of the backlash is probably due to that.
Yeah, I think that can be said, and I can say that there's a lot of, there's a small percentage of people out there that are, the woman who loves Tebow because he's so hot, or the very religious guy who's all about religion and he wants Tebow to start strictly because of his religious stance, and they don't know much about football. They don't have a football factual stance on the subject, just more of a Tebow stance. And I think those give a lot of the Tebow supporters a bad name. I really do. I think that they hurted Tebow. I think they hurt Tebow in this entire situation, because what happened was everybody who wanted a change, everybody who wanted Tebow to start, they were all just branched into this same psychiatric treatment that these other people were, and it wasn't fair to them. And what happened is it started to turn out to where people just thought that there was a couple Tebow crazies, and then by the end of the thing, it was anybody who said anything about Tebow was an idiot all of a sudden, because they got so tired of that. So I understand that to a point, but after the losing continued, that's when the media had to draw the line and say, hey, you know what? These people actually just want to change. And I think from everybody, you've seen how vocal I've been on Twitter and stuff like that about, and on my show, about sticking up for the fans who wanted to change. And I've seen the majority of the people that call me or tweet to me or email me, they don't know whether Tebow's going to be great or not, but they know that Kyle Orton's not going to get him anywhere, and they want that chance to see, and they want change. They want hope. They want to believe, and I don't put them into the same. I don't put them into the same crowd as the first group that we were talking about.
And they're not. I've even tried to have some exchanges with some of the radio hosts, the other radio hosts, in that same regard, saying that. They're taking the vocal minority, the Tebow fanatics, a tiny, tiny percentage, Gator fans, love his religious stance, whatever it is, and they're lumping all of the people that say, hey, Orton needs to go let's see what Tebow has, they're lumping them all together, just like you said. What I see on the forums is most people that have said, hey, Orton needs to go, we need to start Tebow, they are not at all confident that Tebow is going to be a good starter in the NFL. Jury is out. But they say we need to find out. Orton's not the answer. We have the worst record in the last 31 games since that 6-0 start in the NFL. And what they don't want to do is go into another offseason, go into this deep 2012 draft class, once again not knowing what Tebow can show. And that's the reason they've been saying, hey, you got to get him out there. You got to see what he can do. Yeah,
definitely. I'm with that 100%. How do you feel about this Tebow thing? You pretty excited about it?
I'm mixed. I'm excited about. I want to see what he can do. And the third quarter was so-so. The fourth quarter, hey, it was exciting. He missed a lot of throws. He threw some in the dirt, but he made plays. He's a playmaker. And I think I heard it a bunch. I think a lot of us felt this way. It was the first game in a long time, since Cutler left. And there's a lot of negative about Cutler, I know, but it's the first time we thought there was a chance of coming back in a game, other than maybe the Houston game last year when Tebow started. You didn't get that with Orton. He was down by 7 points, 14 points, 3 points even, and you never felt like, hey, he's going to lead a game-winning drive. With Tebow, you get that feeling.
Yeah.
Whether or not he can make the throws, I don't know. I do think a little bit too much is being made about like the almost fumbled snaps. Let's look back to when Cutler took over in Denver. I think he had like 5 or 6 games in a row where he actually fumbled a snap. And what they talked about at the time was he had not worked with the starting center. I can't remember who it was. If it was Hamilton or who we had at that time. I'm drawing a blank right now. But he hadn't worked with the starting center, and he was fumbling snaps because he'd been working with the second team center. And so I think you've got some of that going on. Tebow hasn't been taking snaps from Walton.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I was going to mention was the story of Willis McGahee, and we're going to get into this a little later.
Great.
But, man, I mean, you're talking about a guy who had probably the most horrific live injury I've ever seen on TV in football when he was at the University of Miami. He should have never played football after that in the NFL level. And he came in and he had his time in Buffalo, and they wore him down, and we thought, okay, well, that's probably the end of Willis. And then he went to Baltimore, he had a great year, and then Ray Rice came in and Ron McClain. We said, okay, well, that's the end of Willis. And then he comes to the Broncos, and about 2 games in, we're thinking, okay, well, Willis is averaging about 3.4 yards a carry, so this is much. And then all of a sudden, I mean, the guy's been electric. He's been phenomenal. Is anybody talking about that on your forums?
A little bit. I mean, it's been overwhelmed with Tebow, but yeah, there's definitely been some talk about McGahee. There was a thread that somebody started either Sunday night or Monday among the Tebow madness, pointing that very thing out. The guy right now, the best guy on the field on Sunday, at least offensively, was McGahee. I mean, he ran great. He's had a couple really good games now.
Yeah. Hey, Tned, thanks for calling in, man. Really appreciate it. Anytime, brother, okay?
I'll definitely check back.
All right, man.
Thanks, Brandon.